Welcome to another edition of Thermal Wisdom. I'm Bob Lennon, President of ThermalWood Canada, and host for the show. Today, our special guest, Dallin Brooks. And Dallin is the Executive Director of the North American Hardwood Lumber Association, better known as the NHLA. Is that correct, Dallin?
Correct. Yep. National Hardwood Lumber Association.
So, um, you've taken over that role for a couple of years. So tell us a little bit about the role, what the association is all about, and then we'll jump in later on and talk about how we're combining that with the thermally modified wood.
Yeah, I get the privilege of being the leader to help implement the daily operations of the National Association that represents all the hardwood sawmills in the United States and Canada, along with the concentration yards, distributors, and customers that sell and help us produce hardwood lumber. And the key thing that we do is the rules. We write the rule book for hardwood lumber grading, as well as provide support for promotion, advocacy, and operations, quality control, certifications, and other things like that.
So is this only in the U.S. or do you do U.S. and Canada?
US and Canada.
Okay, both sides. So talking about rules and regulations and standards and so on and so forth, this is where the connection is happening with the with thermally modified wood. So you want to elaborate a little bit more on how this all came about and why that's gonna help people understand the process and feel better about this.
Sure. First off, our rules are based on yield output. So again, it's designed for a system where it's for appearance uses. So you're going to look at a board and you're going to say, "Hey, I want to get a cabinet, furniture, something out of it. I need this amount of clear wood, or I'm allowed to have this many knots, or different things like that." So different than structural grading, we're doing this appearance grading or yield output, so that when you get a board, you can determine exactly how much clear wood you could get to use for different projects and things like that. So that's the side of the grading rules that we focus on. And of course, thermally modified wood is an appearance wood. And so everybody wants to be able to look at that and say, "Oh, that's beautiful wood behind you," and not see terrible waney wood and things like that, knotty holes in it, rot, decay, stains, things like that. And so our rules are designed for that. And we run several certification systems to help ensure quality control, help improve process standards and things like that, so that we can ensure that not only is it good looking, but it's actually going to perform properly and not have a lot of internal stress in it or other things like that.
So, you talk about quality control, talk about aesthetics of the wood and the things that make sure that people get what they're expecting, right? So, how do you see this as being good for the industry, especially when it comes to, like, I know ourselves, we deal a lot with architects, and do you think it gives them a little bit more confidence if they have this behind? Like, how do you see this all rolling out?
Confidence for the architects, absolutely, but it's about growing and stabilizing the entire market. And in order to grow and stabilize it, you need to be able to get a consistent supply that's the same every time. And I've heard several people say, "Hey, I get it great from one producer, but I get something different from the other producer, and they're consistent amongst themselves, but I can't switch. If I start a project with one, I have to use this one." And sometimes you have big projects that require large outputs and other things like that. And so you need to be able to have some consistency between suppliers, not just within a supply. And that helps us to grow and stabilize the entire market and increase production for everybody. When people say, "Yes, every time I get it, I get what I want, and it's consistent, and therefore I'm going to order it again and use it for bigger and bigger projects." And so it's not just a little one-off niche market. And so that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to grow and stabilize the entire market by creating consistency amongst all manufacturers, so that they can produce to the level that is desired by the architects and designers, and they will then react to that and utilize it more.
And by doing that, I would think that then it puts everybody on the same playing field, and then it comes out to the relationship that you're building with the client, and on how, and not the product itself, so that everybody, the client, will end up feeling comfortable that there's a protection in behind there, that somebody's actually auditing this or checking up on it and following it, so they can feel good about having it, and meeting their expectations, correct?
Correct. Absolutely. We want customer service to be the one that helps you differentiate yourself, and the quality that you do and the work that you do to provide that relationship is critical.
Now, I've talked to some people about the fact that of being audited on a regular basis for the quality. So um, today that's being done with myself because I'm a member of the ThermalWood Association. So we have that association that's going to be doing that. But that's some of the plans that the NHLA will do in the future. Will it? Is that what you're looking at?
Yes, and then one of the issues for thermal modification, of course, is the fact that there are several different equipment manufacturers that use different processes for reducing the oxygen to keep the wood from burning during the thermal modification process. And so those different equipment providers all have a different way of doing it, and we want to ensure that there's continuity amongst all the different equipment as well as within the chamber itself.
Yeah, because there's some open systems, there's closed systems, there's systems that don't take out all the humidity, and some do, and so all of those things got to be taken into consideration while we're doing this, right?
Exactly. And so we want them all to be finally, because it hasn't happened yet. Even in Europe, it hasn't happened. All finally say, hey, here's a simple starting process. These are the key parameters that you need to hit. And then we can start to continue to improve those. But you have to start somewhere. Every rules book I know starts thin and just keeps getting thicker.
Yeah, using more wood. But and the other thing too is that I think that this is crucial for North America because uh, those rules and regulations have been set in Europe for years. Like this technology has been used. It's very well known. People know about it. They feel comfortable about it, and it's being used. And you can tell when you look at the production numbers, they're continuing climbing in Europe and have been for years. And but in North America, it's kind of, you know, still a lot of people that don't know about it.
It's amazing, really, when you see what's happened in North America, because I started getting involved with thermal modification back in 2002. So it's been 23 years, Bob, and I'm shocked that it's just taken us so long. We always said, "Oh, we're 5 years behind," but we were saying that 20 years ago, and we're still 5 years behind. And so we're really more than that, and we need to get onto this trend. It's a great product. It offers so many great unique features. It gives us the ability to compete with hard, um, to source durable, naturally durable woods, and it gives us a great product to sit there and say, "Hey, North America's are sustainably harvested. We got a great product. Let's use it."
One of the things too, and it's interesting that it's the NHLA that's kind of grabbing this because the technology was developed primarily for softwoods, right? And so I know ourselves when we started in 2008, uh, nobody had a clue how to help us out with our schedule and how to treat ash or maple or birch or oak, and it was like we had to figure this all out on our own. And now there's more that are doing hardwoods than there were in the past, so we've all tried to figure it out on our own. But now having the NHLA in behind, and I suppose there'll be some research done and some more documentation that will be broadcast out to the end users and to the architects and to the users going through. Is that part of the plan?
That's absolutely the plan. We've hired a director of research and development to help, not just doing the research, because there's been a lot of small research, but to actually the commercialization, right? Develop the markets, develop the final product, help you guys take it out there and sell it, because it isn't enough just to keep coming up with new theories and new ideas of, hey, you could possibly do this and mix it with this. It's how can we actually get something into the market that's going to help make a difference and show it off. And I can tell you this much from my early days in thermal modification, because I started off sending a piece of blue stained pine from Vanderhoof, British Columbia to Finland, to Timo Tetri in Yartek, and said, "Hey, thoroughly modify this for me and tell me what it looks like afterwards." And they thoroughly modified it and sent it back, and you couldn't see the blue stain in it. And I'm like, this is going to change the softwood industry. And I spent my early years, my master's thesis, all focused on thermal modification. But the whole time I'm doing it, I'm like, well, actually, there's a really big market for this in hardwoods. There's a better opportunity in hardwoods. Not that there isn't anything with softwoods and decking and flooring and or siding, but there's some great opportunities in flooring and some of the cabinets and musical instruments and other things like that. that have been really underutilized that are going to take off in the market.
No, and you talk about musical instruments. That's another one that great applications, and that market has been growing substantially over the years. And but again, they're just learning about it, and it's starting to go. And once everybody understands, then it moves. But there's that period in there, and like you said, it's been a slow crawl.
It really has been. And the hard part for us is getting them to understand all the features, understand why it's better than using a tropical hardwood because the natural, hey, we've used Wenge for this for years, or we've used ebony for this for years. And it's like, well, now we can do it with red oak or ash or something else. Or we can take a different tropical species and thermally modify it and make it darker and copy this. So, that's more common. So there's lots of solutions that this technology offers. It's just a matter of asking the right questions.
And you mentioned a good one too, is that over the years there's a lot of tropical woods that have been used in projects and uh, all around the world, but a lot in North America. And now people are a lot more conscious about the environment and what we're doing to our whole ecosystem and staying away from the rainforest is one of the things. I had somebody call me up not so long ago and said that they're in the exotic wood business, and they said, it's starting to be politically incorrect to start to use certain things. So they're looking for alternatives, and thermal modification allows us to use some of our domestic hardwoods and make them much more prettier.
Absolutely. And that's the story that I keep telling everybody is, and the way I got my job here is in my job interview, I pulled up this chunk of wood right here. This is my 8-quarter white oak thermally modified. I don't think there's a prettier board in all the world than this board right here. I've had this in my desk for 20 years, and this board is it's gorgeous. And people's like, yo, you can't do that white oak and you can't do this. Well, yes, you can. You just have to spend some time. You learn it, slow it down. You can process anything and you can do it nicely.
Yeah, if it's wood, it can be thermally modified.
Right.
Yeah,
You can understand the quality in is the quality out, right? So you put naughty Waney wood in, it's naughty Waney wood out. It doesn't turn it to gold. You gotta watch it, which is why we need the process standards.
well, that's a really good point, right? It's because there's a lot of operators when it first started off that didn't help, uh, didn't help the process because they did exactly that. They were expecting to be able to take garbage wood and turn it into to gold, but that's not necessarily the case. You've got to use good quality product, but you enhance those products, and the characteristics of it. And so those are some of the things that at first people were jumping into this and doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, well, it's easy because you get government grants when you use keywords like underutilized, low value, you know, and so that's exactly where they went. Oh, how can we turn garbage into gold? And it didn't work, and it hurt the market early on because people would sit there and say, "Hey, yeah, give us your naughty, low value, small diameter wood, and we can turn it into something that's going to be just straight and beautiful and have all its knots in it," and it didn't work. So you got to learn to control your process and your wood going in.
And there are some people too at the beginning that, is expensive. It's not cheap to do this. You need energy to be able to transform the wood. And so if there's any places you can cut and do stuff, but you can never cut on the quality of the product at the end. And I think that that's one of the key elements that you're going to bring to the table with the work that you're doing on thermally modified wood and the standards you want to put in place.
That's the great thing about having so much experience in the industry is I've got a perspective. I've ran my own system. I've sold for the equipment suppliers. I've done my research from the university aspect. So I can cover it from all grounds and really have a great understanding so that we can work together to say, here's the common ground and let's set it up so we do it right.
So I think that the consumer, the architects, the people that spec this can can really start considering the fact that they can feel comfortable that there's a national association with somebody that's at the helm that has the experience, that you will make sure that you put the right things in place to and the right checklists in place to and barriers to prevent bad quality product from being out there.
And then that allows us to promote it more under a common brand and help get that message out there so that we can grow the market.
Well, Dallin, listen, I really appreciate the fact that you spent some time today sitting down with me, going over some of these points, and really reassuring the public, if I can say that, at large, that there are, checks and bounds that are going to be put in place that will make sure that people get what they expect to get and the quality of the product that can be put out with this. So appreciate that. Any closing remarks?
Well, just that I think we got to focus on new markets, new developments. We have a lot of projects that we're working on. The Forest Service and other groups are working on it. So we have things like thermally modified cross-laminated timber. And both of these pieces are red oak that's been cross-laminated, which means they basically tried to take lumber and make it into a plywood by putting the wood in different directions. And the quality of it and the ability to use it for trailer decking and new markets and appearance applications and mix and match it. We have a great opportunity to expand our markets, to show that we have good quality and a great product that can really be utilized in different processes, different applications. I mean, in terms of getting out there into the market and getting people to use wood again, because wood is the answer. And thermally modified wood makes it last longer and look nicer, more stable. So the benefits are there.
And the fact, that's a good point of bringing a cross-laminated CLT into the picture here, because this is something over the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years that has been growing to kind of let's replace steel with wood and let's start making structures that are a lot more stable using wood products. And we're seeing more high rises now that are being built, and people are trying to break records of how many stories that they can build with cross-laminated timber. And so the fact that that now incorporating an aesthetically pleasing product on the outside of this that can also enhance what's going on for various other reasons is an excellent point.
Yeah, it's going to change our markets, and we're going to have a great opportunity to really help build that sustainability, build that low carbon footprint. Tell people about the why we need to use more wood and how using more wood, including thermally modified wood, to really enhance the carbon story, that carbon sequestration, right? Everybody needs to understand wood is 50% carbon. So when I hold up this piece of wood right here, this is 50% carbon. And that really is a good story when you're talking about how are we going to help the environment and do the right thing.
So it's a good story all around. Good to hear. So listen, again, I want to thank you for taking some time today to sit with me and go over this. And I'm sure that all our viewers are going to enjoy listening to this and finding out that there's somebody behind that's going to make sure that they get what they want. So that's really good. So thank you very much for being on the show today.
All right, thank you, Bob. Pleasure.
And there we have it, another edition of Thermal Wisdom for this week. Place you come to listen to the stories you haven't discovered yet and the things that you really don't know.